Hi everybody and welcome back to Smart Home Improvement people today. Now last week I did a couple of videos, so what I thought I'd speak about is the comments that came with those videos, and we'd take a look at what is actually the best option. Is it a gas boiler, okay, or is it the air source heat pump? Okay, which is the better option? Okay, and I know some people can say, what about ground source heat pumps, or what about biomass? Well, the problem with ground source heat pumps and biomass are bloody expensive. And most people are going to use biomass, are going to be in the country. It's not really what most people are going to use. So let's basically get down to it. So the reality is, what have people asked? Okay, so let's get into the first one. Now, in my video, I said that when it comes to an air source heat pump, okay, when you get to cold temperature, okay, they lose efficiency. And this has become prominent because in America, they're very popular, um, air source heat pumps. And it's one of the things that a lot of people say. And I also mentioned I've had a lot of people from the north part of northern UK that have said to me, I regret getting one. It was a mistake to get it. Okay. So they said, what kind of temperature are you actually looking at? How cold does it need to get before they start losing efficiency? Well, this is where it is. So statistically, okay, with the technology that we have at the moment, when it comes to air source heat pumps, and what you've got to remember with an air source heat pump, it's outside. Okay, it's not indoors, it's outside. So it's out amongst the elements. And this is why I say, if you're in the north of England, okay, in my opinion, so this is my opinion, and I'm probably going to get slaughtered by installers, and I'm probably going to get slaughtered by the government for saying this, but this is reality, okay? Rather than me trying to flog you a product, it's telling you the truth, okay? When you get to the temperature of around about 0 to 3 degrees, okay, they lose efficiency. And when you go below 5 degrees, they absolutely drop off. Now, that is a statistically proven fact. Okay, it's not me just saying it because I want to flog you a boiler or anything like that, as in a gas boiler. Okay, that's where it is. So, that's why I always say, if you live in the south of England, and that's not to say that south doesn't go to north or below, because it does, but not as a great deal. If you're in the south of England, an air source heat pump is a good option. Okay, if you don't want to be burning fossil fuels, okay, so ideally gas and coal and all of that type of stuff, an air source heat pump is a viable and decent option. If you're in the north of the country, this has always been my quandary. It does get cold in the north. You know, I've got family in Yorkshire. My father used to live in the northeast. I remember going up to the northeast when he had cancer, and it was like no, I think it was December time, just before Christmas, and it was bloody freezing. You know, I literally froze to death. Not literally, but it was extremely cold. You know, and for somebody that's always lived in the south of England, it was bitter for me. You know, but he lived in Seaham, which is obviously just by Sunderland, and that's why you probably got the winds coming off the North Sea and everything, which made it even worse for somebody like me. So, if I'm to personally give somebody advice, and they're in the north of England, and they're going to be concerned about them temperatures um, over the winter period, and they're reliant on their heating, I'm probably going to advise them to go down the route of the boiler. Okay. as long as the government aren't going to go down this route in what, about 8 years' time, and say, oh, we want to get rid of all boilers, as in gas boilers. So that's where I am with that. Now, when it comes to air source heat pumps as well, why do people get air source heat pumps? Well, first of all, the government are trying to push it. Okay, people aren't getting air source heat pumps, okay, because they want to save the planet. It's the same as solar. I worked in the solar industry back in the day, which was about 2010-ish. Okay, when it first kicked off, and you're getting paid 42p a unit for selling it back to the national grid. Okay, people never said they wanted to save the planet. Okay, they were doing it to benefit their pocket. Now, getting an air source heat pump, in reality, is potentially going to save yourself in the pocket, because it's going to be cheaper to run than a boiler, because gas is more expensive than electricity. Now, the only thing that I would personally say, and I would always advise everybody to do this, if you're going to get yourself an air source heat pump, invest in solar. Okay. And the reason for that is if you're getting an air source heat pump, they rely on that electricity at the end of the day. They need electricity to run. And if you're going to go down the renewable route, you might as well do it properly. So you've got the choice of, you either get a massive wind turbine put in your back of your house, in your back garden, which most people aren't going to be able to afford, and you're probably not going to want to do, or you go and get solar panels put on your roof. If you've got the relevant type of roof, you've got enough room to have panels on there, okay, and your roof is potentially going to be facing the right way. You're not going to have any shading from trees or other buildings or anything like that. Then I would suggest get solar, because it's going to save you more money, and you're not going to be reliant on the cost of electricity, okay, which means you can go down the route of renewables properly, which is going to save you money at the end of the day on your electricity and your heating. So you don't have to worry about gas, okay, and you can reduce the cost of your electricity overall. Okay, so that's that done. Okay, now the other big question, and I didn't really want to address this one, and when I saw this come in, I cringed. Mainly because this channel isn't really a political channel. But the video is, mainly because obviously over these two videos, we had already mentioned that the government with our useless renewable energy secretary, whatever you want to call him, I call him a muppet, Ed Miliband, had basically gone and said that they've increased the boiler allowance, okay, and they're going to extend it. So the £7.5 grand, and obviously that goes to air source heat pumps, which isn't going to cover the cost of an air source heat pump anyway. You're still going to look at a bill of £3 to £4 if not more. And also they're going to carry on giving out boilers, which I think is which is into about 2029. This one particular gentleman, God, I really don't want to speak about this, but I'm going to do it. So he said, and I'll read it word for word from him. Electricity in the USA is a third of the price of what I pay in the UK. If the government wants to give me a warm home, cut the price by half, and I can use twice as much and be warm as toast. Louisiana and Idaho in the USA pay 9p per kilowatt. In the UK is 27p. Okay, and I've had somebody else who says warm houses will reduce the demand for electricity, which will in turn decrease the price. Now, I'll start with the second comment first. Warm houses will not reduce the demand for electricity, which will turn decrease the price. Okay, so if you get warm houses and people are getting and requesting less electricity, because it's also going to be gas. Gas is more expensive than electricity. The price is going to go up. It's not going to go down. It's going to go up. End of story. So it's as simple as that. Now, when it comes to American prices, America versus UK, it's not a very fair thing to do at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to America, they have the supply of oil and gas in Alaska. They have the supply in the US, what used to be the Mexican channel, whatever you bloody call it, I can't remember, because I know they changed the name, so I'm trying to stay politically correct and everything. Okay, then they got all the oil up and down America, specifically well known in Texas. Okay, and they've never gone down this route of subsidies for renewable energy. The UK has. So what people got to take into account, and this is the reality, because I had this discussion with a friend of mine last night because he was complaining about his electricity bill with, I'm going to get it wrong, it's either Eon or EDF. I can't remember which one it is. It's one of them. Okay. And he complained that he was using about £10 every fortnight, and now his bill's about £70 a month. So his bill's gone up massively. And it's like I said to him, the problem we've got in the UK is so much reliance is what we've wanted to turn into Scandinavia, where they've invested so heavily into renewable energy that most of their energy that is supplied in the countries is from renewables. And the UK have been wanting to do this, and we've done it badly. And because we're subsidising energy companies, all of which aren't even English, that price gets passed on to the customer at the end of the day. So you and I are all going to pay for the hiking energy bills because of the subsidies at the end of the day. You know, somebody has to pay for it. So we pay for it with our tax, and then we pay for it on our energy bills. And that's the reason why we're paying more. There's no other reason, because the reality is, if you actually look at the markets, and I use gas as the classic one, in the warmer months, the price of gas tanks and it goes right down because nobody's using it. And then when we start getting to the colder months, so when we get to around October, okay, the price of gas, you know, you can just look at the stock market. You don't have to believe me. Go and have a look at a year, 5 years, whatever you want. Gas prices start going through the roof. But when they start coming back down, does the energy companies pass that cost on to us because they're not paying as much for the gas at the end of the day? No, they don't, and they're not going to. Why would they? You know, if you was running a business and you knew it was costing you less money, would most people seriously reduce their prices? Probably not. They would keep them the same. And that's the fundamental problem in the UK. Okay, we've been absolutely smashed ever since the Labour Party under Tony Blair decided we want to go down this renewable route. Energy prices have been absolutely obliterated. Because I remember the days when my mother only used to spend £10 a week on electricity. There was even one period, and this was in the 2000s, she was spending £10 a month. But that's another story, you know. So I hope this helps everybody out. And if anybody wants to know, if I was actually to personally give somebody advice, and I'm going to get myself in a lot of trouble for this, I would always advise people to stick with the gas boiler. Okay, that's my personal preference. That's what I would always advise. I think they're a lot better. They are more expensive. Okay, they're more expensive to run, should I say, um, than an air source heat pump. But the air source heat pump is a lot more expensive to actually get and installed. And if you take, for instance, the grants and everything, you're looking about 5 to 6 times more expensive. You know, obviously, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble for saying that, but that's the truth. You know, so let us know what you think. You know, if you've got any questions, do drop us a message or a comment below. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all again a bit later.